Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever it is that you're watching this video. So this is the fifth video in our video series for Kingdom Plantae, and in this video, we're going to focus on group Angiosperms, which are the flowering plants. So before I go on, once again, I would like to remind you about the worksheet. Okay, in the previous video, we talked about group Gymnosperms, and in this video, we're going to be focusing on unique characteristics of Angiosperms, and we're also going to divide it into two classes, which is dicotyledonnae and monocotyledonnae. This part about exploring evolutionary relationships among groups in Kingdom Plantae, I might do a video on it, or we might just discuss it during face-to-face lessons. So we're only focusing on the angiosperm part for this video. Okay, are you ready? Let's get started. Get me flowers. Yay! So this video is on group Angiosperms, which are all flowering plants. And the learning objectives for this subtopic is quite short, just like in the Gymnosperm, it's quite short. So there's only two learning objectives. You should be able to describe the unique characteristics of Angiosperms, which is phylum Antophyta, and also state the classification of angiosperms into two classes, which is class dicotyledonnae and class monocotyledonnae. Let's get into it. Okay, unique characteristics of angiosperms. Angiosperms are any and all flowering plants, or what is biologically categorized as a flowering plant. And all angiosperms will have complex lignified vascular plants. They have xylem that contain vessel elements and tracheids, and their phloem contain companion cells and sieve tubes. They have seed plants. All angiosperms have seeds, and all angiosperm seeds are enclosed in an ovary. So if you look at this nut, that is enclosed in an ovary. This is a blood orange. Okay, the seeds are there in somewhere, and all of these is the fruity part. The fruity part is the ovary. This is a cherry tomato. You see the seeds, and around it is the fruit. The fruit is what used to be the ovary. Okay, so all angiosperms are seed plants with seed enclosed in ovary. All angiosperms are heterosporous. Their dominant generation is sporophyte. Their gametophyte is reduced, almost microscopic, and depend on the sporophyte for nutrition. The gametophyte of angiosperms are the pollen grain and embryo sac that we learned about last time. So all angiosperms are heterosporous, have male and female spores, and their dominant generation is sporophyte, gametophyte very small. Gametophyte depend on sporophyte for nutrition. They do not require water for fertilization because their sperm cells are non-motile. The pollen tube helps sperm cells to reach the egg cell. So, bila itu pollen tube sampai kepada stigma, dia akan bercambah. Pollen grain sampai kepada stigma, dia akan bercambah, dia akan menghasilkan pollen tube yang hantar sperm cell kepada egg cell. This is what we learned about in chapter 9 last semester. Okay, so you should recall this diagram that I made you draw for your exercise. Okay, the pollen grain will germinate, the pollen tube grows and delivers the egg cell to the sperm cell to the egg cell. Other unique characteristics of angiosperms is that it undergoes double fertilization. After double fertilization, the ovary develops into fruit, ovule develops into seed. Seed will consist of diploid embryo, and seed is enclosed by a seed coat that derive from the integuments of the ovule. The fruit will protect the seed and aid in its dispersal. So that's it. Okay, daripada begini, dia akan jadi buah. It will have seed, which is what used to be the, and protected by a seed coat, which is what used to be the ovule, and ovary will become the fruit. The sexual reproductive structure of angiosperms is its flower. Flowers are bright in colors, they are scented, they offer pollen or nectar as food. Pollination is achieved by several agents, such as insects and animals. And we can classify angiosperms into two classes, which is class dicotyledonate. Example is this Mangifera indica. I think that's mango. Mango. And another class is class monocotyledonate, which is represented in this example by corn. So the differences between monocots and dicots is something that you've learned about in school before, but in this lesson we'll just kind of go over it again because why not? Okay, so monocots, they will have only one cotyledon in its seed. The dicots will have two cotyledons in its seed, in its embryo, sorry. And then monocots will have leaves with parallel veins. Di akan malurus jam to. And then dicots will have leaves with reticulate or net-like veins, like that. For monocots, they will have scattered vascular bundles in its stem. The vascular cambium is usually absent, so there's no secondary growth. Okay, it's macam bertaburan macam itu. Whereas in dicots, the ring of vascular bundles in the stem, the vascular bundles usually form rings in the stem. Okay, so vascular cambium is usually present and it gives rise to secondary growth. It's arranged in that shape. Monocots have fibrous root system and adventitious roots from the base of the stem. Dicots will have taproot system, di akan ada akar tunjang, and then there will be lateral roots that develop from that primary root. Monocots usually have flower petals in multiples of 5. Dicots usually have flower petals in multiples of 4 or 5. So that is pretty much it for group Angiosperms. There's not a lot because it's quite a common group anyway. Like you see, it's quite brief. And it's things that you have been learning about since you were in school, and we learned about double fertilization in the last semester as well. So this subtopic is quite brief. Even though it's brief, I hope you are able to complete at the unique characteristics of angiosperms and list some simple characteristics of each class of dicots and monocots, and just kind of sketch an example. I just want you to draw as part of an exercise. So thank you very much for paying attention to this video series. Even though it's the holiday, thank you for working hard. We'll discuss your worksheet and probably the evolutionary relationships among groups in Kingdom Plantae in the next lesson. All the best and happy learning. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.